Alright, and hello everyone, it is me, Jay Burns, and in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make this bracelet right here. This bracelet is hopefully my own original design, and it is called the Old String Bracelet. So yeah, really interesting name there. But anyway, I'll be showing you how to make this bracelet on the monster tail. So, what this bracelet here is well, it's kind of a single chain and a fishtail on one side. So on one side it's a fishtail, and then the other side is a single chain. And then after so many rubber bands, it changes, and instead of being single chain on one side and fishtail on the other, they switch. So then one side is the single chain and the other side is the fishtail. And I came up with this bracelet like a really long time ago, and I don't know, I just never made a tutorial for it for some reason. But anyway, I'm making it now, so okay. But anyway, to make this bracelet, to make this bracelet, you're going to need a monster tail. You can also use a mini loom, or you can use 2 pins on an alpha loom, or 2 pins on a rainbow loom. But I'll be using a monster tail, and the instructions will kind of be for monster tails as well. You will need a hook. I'm going to be using just a regular old plastic hook from Rainbow Loom, but now they're like metal hooks. But anyway, I'll just be using a regular plastic hook. You will also need a clip. Any clip should work as long as it is for rubber band bracelets. I'll be using a C-clip. And then you will also need rubber bands, of course. And there are 2 groups. There's the A and B group. I'll explain what they are. The A group, the A rubber bands, they are going to be the rubber bands where there's a fishtail on one side and then a single chain on the other. And the B rubber bands is going to be pretty much the same as the A group, except it'll be backwards. So say the fishtail's on the left for A bands. For B rubber bands, the fishtail will be on the right. So usually the A and the B rubber bands are 2 different colors, but I'm just going to be, so like there's going to be 2 different colors in each group. So like I would have pink and white and blue and black over here. But I'm just going to be using 1 color for the A rubber bands and 1 color for the B color bands. Right, now to figure out how many bands you'll need, just go down to the description. It will tell you about how many bands you will need. And yeah, use the pause button to get the supplies that you're going to need. We're going to go ahead and get started. And when we're beginning, you're going to want to have your hook nearby. And we're going to go ahead and start by getting our A color bands out. And we're going to need 8 of these to begin. Alright, so we're just going to take one of our A color rubber bands. And I'm just going to have the red dot here on the left. So for monster tails, I have the red dot here on the left, and that is pretty important for this design, so everybody have the red dot here on the left. What we're going to do with this first A color band is we're going to make it into a cap band. And what we're going to do that is we're going to take the rubber band, stretch it from 1 pin going across the monster tail, directly across to another pin. So if you're using just like a rainbow loom or just an ordinary loom, you can just choose any 2 pins next to each other. But for monster tails, you need to pick either these 2, or these 2 pins. So I'm going to be using these 2 middle pins. Anyway, so we're just going to take an A color band, make it into a cap band, like that. And then we're going to get started with the design. So first we're going to get another A color rubber band. So we're starting the pattern now. And we're just going to stretch it going across the monster tail here. Now we're going to get our hook, and we're just going to loom the bottom rubber band on only one of the 2 pins here. So for everybody with the monster tail, it's just this pin here that's closest to you. The other side, we're just going to keep those other 2 bands there. And now we're going to get another A color rubber band, place it going across the same 2 pins. And now we're going to loom the bottom rubber band on both pins. So here. And then on the other side of the monster tail, we should have 3 rubber bands on that pin. We're going to go ahead and grab the bottom band there. Right. Make sure the red dot is back on the left. Now we're going to get another A color rubber band. And this should be the 4th one that we are adding. I'm going to place it going across. Same 2 pins. Loom the bottom rubber band on both sides. And there should be 2 little rubber bands on one pin, and then on the other pin we should only have 1. Now once again, get another A color rubber band, place it, just place it normally, same 2 pins, get your hook, loom the bottom band on both pins, and then on one pin there should still be 2 rubber bands left, and the other pin should have 1. Red dot should be back on the left. Then again, go ahead and get another A color rubber band, place it, loom the bottom bands on both pins, and you should only be looming 1 bottom rubber band. Red dot on the left. And if you're using like a rainbow loom or just like a regular old loom, just make sure you keep track which pin has the fishtail on it and which pin has the single chain on it. So this front pin here for Monster Tails, when you have the red dot on the left, that's your single chain pin, and then this pin back here, when the red dot is on the right, that is the fishtail pin. Right, well anyway, we're going to go ahead, get another A color band, stretch it across, loom the bottom bands on both pins. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our last A color rubber band for this section. We're going to stretch it going across these 2 same pins, loom the bottom band on, hold on, let me make sure. Yeah, loom the bottom band on both pins. And now we're going to go ahead and get our B color rubber bands. So we're just going to get 7 B color rubber bands. And what we're going to do here is now we're going to kind of flip it. So we're going to take our B color rubber band, and now for those of you with a monster tail, this pin here that was your single chain pin that only has 1 rubber band sitting here on it right now is going to now be the fishtail pin, and then this pin on the other side, which has 2 little bands on it right now, is going to be your single chain pin. So now we're switching to B color bands. And we're going to place it going across the exact same way as before. And instead of looming the bottom rubber band on both pins, on the pin that has 3 rubber bands on it right now, so the old fishtail pin, you're going to loom both of those bottom bands, right? And make sure the red dot is back on the left again. Then we're going to get another B color band, stretch across the same 2 pins, and now we're going to go ahead and loom the bottom rubber band on both pins. So grab the bottom band, this should be an A color band here, and then on the other side it should be a B color band, and this is the new single chain pin, right? And just make sure that the red dot is back on the left. I'm going to go ahead and add a B color band again, loom the bottom rubber band on both pins, and on one pin you should have 2 rubber bands when you finish, and then on the other pin you should only have 1 rubber band when you finish looming. And you're just going to add the remaining 4 B color rubber bands like so. So just put it on the pin and loom the bottom band on both pins, and you're just going to do that until you run out of B color bands. So now you're just going to do this 3 more times. go ahead and do that. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright, so you should already see the bracelet growing down through the bottom of your monster tail, or it's a really weird cat band. Anyway, you should already see it growing down through, and when you look at one side of the bracelet, there should be a single chain and then a fishtail, and then the other side it should be a fishtail and then a single chain. So that's how you can tell if you're doing this correctly. But now we have added all of our B color bands. Now we're going to switch back to A color rubber bands. So now we're going to get 7 A color rubber bands. And now the pattern starts over. So I'm going to go through the pattern of making this bracelet one more time, and then I'm going to leave you to finish making the bracelet on your own. So what you're going to do is, so here with our B color bands on our loom, there should be one pin that has 2 bands sitting there on it, and then the other pin should have 1 rubber band sitting there on it. And to transition from B color bands to A color bands, you take an A color rubber band and stretch it across, just normally. Make sure the red dot's on the left. And on one pin, the pin that has 3 rubber bands sitting there on it, you're going to loom the bottom 2 bands. And then on the other pin, where there's only 2 rubber bands on it, you're just going to ignore that pin and not do anything to that. Now we're going to get another A color rubber band, stretched across the same 2 pins, and what we're going to do is just loom the bottom rubber band on both pins. So here on this pin here, where there's 3 rubber bands on it now, you're just going to loom that single, just that one bottom rubber band, and that one bottom rubber band should be a B color band. Now the pattern is from here is you just add the remaining 5 A color bands by just placing them, going across these 2 pins, and then looming the bottom rubber band. So you only loom 1. So just go ahead and do that until you run out of those A color bands. Alright, and now we have added all 7 of those A color rubber bands. Now we're going to switch over to B color rubber bands again. So you're going to get 7 B color rubber bands, and we're going to make this pin here, so when the red dot's on the left, this pin here, which is our single chain pin, we're going to make that the fishtail pin. And then the pin here on the other side, when the red dot's on the right, we're going to make this fishtail pin into the single chain pin. So, to do this, you're going to get a B color rubber band now, stretch it going across these same 2 pins you've been placing bands this entire time. And we're only going to loom the bottom bands where we have 3 rubber bands on the pin. So on this pin we have 2 rubber bands, so we're just going to ignore this pin. But the other pin that has 3 little bands here on it, we're going to loom the bottom 2 rubber bands there. And they should have both been A color bands. Then we're going to get another B color rubber band. We're stretched across the same 2 pins. And then the way you add the rest and the remaining B color bands is you just place that B color band going across the same 2 pins and loom the bottom rubber band on both pins. And then on one pin you should end up with 1 rubber band left, and the other pin should end up with 2 bands left. And that's just how you will add the rest of your B color bands. And you should have 5 left after that. So let's go ahead and add them. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright, there we go. And then once you've done that, bracelet should be getting pretty lengthy here. And once you've finished adding all of those B color bands, you're going to switch back over to A color rubber bands, and you'll switch back over to B color bands, and you'll just keep going until you make your bracelet long enough to fit around your wrist. And mine is actually almost long enough, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just... No. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to finish off the bracelet now. So, just go ahead and continue this pattern over and over, alternating between A and B color bands, until you make your bracelet long enough to fit around your wrist. And once it's long enough, I'm going to go ahead and show you how you close off the bracelet. So, to close off the bracelet, you can use either an A or B color rubber band. I'm just going to go ahead and use an A color rubber band so you can see. You're going to want to have your clip nearby. And what we're going to do is we're going to take either an A or B color rubber band, whichever one you want to use. Stretch it going across the same 2 pins you've been using this entire time. Then get your hook and loom all of the bottom rubber bands on both pins. That's all you gotta do there. Then, what we're going to do is we're going to use our hook, and we're going to grab one side of the rubber band on one pin, take it off of that pin, but keep it on your hook, and then bring it over to the other side of the rubber band on the other pin. So now you should have all the rubber bands on your loom just on one pin. And then you'll need to get your clip and attach it to this rubber band here on this one pin. And if you need to, you can use your hook to stretch the band out to another pin so it's easier to get your clip and attach it. Then once it's on, you can take those rubber bands off your loom. And you can still keep your loom out if you want. But what we're going to do now is we're going to find our cap band, which will look a little bit weird, but it's going to end up looking kind of like an 8 or an infinity shape. It's going to be a little bit weird. And you're just going to take it. So you're going to find your cap band. You can either stretch it out across some pins to make it easier, or you can just go ahead and take your clip and attach it. And now I just lost it. Where'd it go? Here it is. There we go. And then once your clip is attached to both ends of your bracelet, you don't really need your monster tail or hook anymore. You can just go ahead and put the bracelet on. It's a little bit tight on my wrist, but anyway, here you go. So now you have your old string bracelet, and I guess now it's time for the outro. So I would like to thank you for watching my tutorial. Hopefully it showed you how to make the old string bracelet successfully on a monster tail or just on 2 pins on pretty much any loom with a hook. And yeah, this bracelet's pretty simple to make once you get the pattern and you know how to transition from single chain to fishtail and fishtail to single chain. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say for this tutorial, other than thanks for watching and bye.